Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. My voice is crackling. In this video, I'm going to do a little card, and I was thinking about doing something bigger, but I have a project planned for that in the next video. It's New Year's Eve, and I wanted to do something with how I'm feeling right now, which is I'm after an adventure. And I actually want to change this to after a new adventure. So that's going to be the theme of this piece. And I don't know about you, but I am obsessed with these little paper dolls. Absolutely obsessed. This guy here stood out. I'm going to do something with this one here in another video. But I needed to find something small. And so I found this little girl here. And it can be, you can do this on any size. It doesn't have to be small like this. But I've got 140-pound watercolor paper, and I found some up. Now, a lot of the stuff that I'm using, this is random stuff I've gathered over the last 10 years. I have no idea where I bought it. This particular one is, I'm pretty sure this is digital, a digital piece that I bought, and I just printed it in black and white. It's just a map. I mean, you can take any map and just photocopy it in black and white. So I'm going to put some map paper on here, paint it, and then the idea is a little girl, and then the quote. But I've got some tiny little collage pieces here. And I'm going to be using tiny pieces. But I'll let the piece kind of guide me as to where I want to go. So I'm going to tell you the supplies I'm using now. But like always, I reserve the right to change it as I see fit. So for now, what I'm going to be doing is Decor Chalky Gesso. I've got a small container to prime the card. And then I'm going to use a Decor medium matte medium to actually to adhere the paper to the piece. And then the paints, and this is where I'm not sure about the theme, but I'm going with the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics, Phthalo Green Blue, Burnt Sienna, Transparent Yellow Iron Oxide, Transparent Red Iron Oxide, and Burnt Umber. Now I also have some stamps, adventure-based stamps, and this one here is from Fiskars. Picked this up at a clearance sale at Lens Mill. It's got some theme-based stuff. And then I've got the Tim Holtz The Journey, and it's called it's got all these pieces here. So I like these, so I'm thinking I'm going to use these too. Not sure. And then I found some washi tape again at this was at I'd like to say Amazon, but I wouldn't have bought this specifically, so I'm thinking you probably got it at Lens Mill as well. Whole bunch of travel stuff. And that's it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prime the card, and there's going to be a big glare there. And to prime the card, I'm going to, because I'm getting tired of doing cleanup, and I'm just going to grab an old piece here, and I'm going to put some gesso on there, and just going to use my brush and just put that on. Nothing fancy about this. This is just so whatever paint to medium I put on there, it sits on top and it doesn't sink into the paper, which takes forever to dry. So this is like a barrier. If you don't have gesso, you can use a sealer as well. What it is just to create that barrier. So because you can do it on the raw paper, but wiping stuff out and correcting mistakes and rubbing out and stuff like that will be much harder, because the paint will just sink into the paper and just stain. So right now this is so the stuff sits on top. And this will only take about 2 to 3 minutes to dry. So I'll let that sit, and then I'm going to... What I'm probably going to do with this is use the smaller piece. I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to glue it onto the card. You can see it's already starting to dry, but look, see how it's curling? That shows that it's still wet. When it dries out, it tends to flatten out. All right, so I cut out the piece. Now I'm not a fan of the city of Los Angeles. Other than because I'm Canadian, I prefer putting stuff with Canada on it. But I'm going to have something covering that anyways. So I've got my matte medium there. Probably pissed somebody off for saying that. All right, matte medium on the card. We live in a world now where it's hard to say anything without offending somebody, unfortunately. Oversensitive environment. All right. And I'm going to put something here. My stomach is growling. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to leave that flat there. And I'm going to turn the card. I'm going to put it at the top. Now I did slightly square off that one corner there. And putting the matte medium on both sides lets me position the stuff around for a couple of seconds. And, nope, I'm going to have to do it again. This piece is really small. I'm just going to put more medium on this. See, it's sitting on top of the gesso, so I have plenty of working time. There we go. Right to the very edge. Now, if your piece is super big, you can also fold the paper onto the back side. Is there anything good on that side? Yeah. It's all right. So I'm just going to seal that edge. We're going to cut that off anyways. And I'm going to put some matte medium on that. I mean, when I come to paint it, if I were to paint right on this paper, I can't do a heck of a lot of blending and movement because it's going on raw paper. But with the matte medium, again, it's another barrier layer. So I'm going to let that dry. And I pulled out a few more things. What I'm going to do is at the very end of the video, I'll go over the supplies that I ended up using, because I've been doing everything in the beginning, and the problem is that when I start not using stuff and using stuff, I can't remember at the end, you know, what I did. So I'm just going to do everything at the end. Okay, I also brought out this stencil here. It's the Andy Skinner, Decor Andy Skinner Mixed Media Stencil Burning Rubber, which again, travel themed, so I like that. And I brought out some Decor Metallic Luster Iced Espresso. So, now what I want to do is let me quickly dry this. This doesn't take long at all. And I thought about, I'd like to do like almost like a window to an adventure. I might put some torn paper on top of the map. I'm not sure yet, but I came up with an idea for this. Now, if you have plenty of time, let this air dry. It's still a tiny bit tacky. I use bigger scissors. It's a little bit tacky, but it's no big deal. And if you guys aren't into artist trading cards, that's fine. Just make this bigger. Oopsie. One of the reasons why I like focusing on artist trading cards is because it's fast. You know, other than the actual lesson, which does take a bit of time to explain, but you guys can make artist trading cards in like 15 minutes. Whereas I stopped doing the formal big pieces of art because it just takes way too long. All right, so I'm going to now put my scissors away. Let's see. I'm going to leave her that color because you can colorize these too, but I want to put some contrast back there. And because it's a map, I'm thinking I want to go with something on a green, like a green stain for land. Ugh. Murphy's Law. If it's a phthalo color, I'm going to get it all over me. You only need a speck, and even that is too much because it's so strong. Phthalo colors are very high staining. They're synthetic. They're not organic, like yellow ochre and true ultramarine blue, which is made of lapis lazuli. Very expensive, which is, it's also, most of the stuff is all synthetic now. But between that, and then I'm going to take some burnt sienna to knock it back about twice the amount. Oh, and I forgot Hansa Yellow Light, about the same amount as, oh, I'm running out of this. And phthalo blue, phthalo colors, I do not like mixing with a brush because it gets stuck inside the brush. Oh, look at that. So 1 part of Hansa Yellow Light, 1 part of Burnt Sienna, and half a part of Phthalo Green Blue. That's nice. So let's, and I can't remember who, she started, a girl posted a comment asking me to start showing more of the colors. There we go. So that's what we're looking at. But with this one here, I'm going to make it super thin, super thin. And instead of using water, I'm going to use matte medium. And using matte medium is a great way to thin out your paints without making them too watery, and it also keeps the strength up of the paint. Because what you're doing, really, you're just tinting the matte medium. Yep, just a stain. And it's permanent. That's the beautiful part about it. It's permanent. You don't have to use stuff that's water soluble, or which has been I've been hearing some frustrating comments about that. You know, a way to get around the water soluble stuff. There's a air bubble in there. Around the water soluble stuff is you spray it with a fixative. There's really no other way around it. Anything brush on is going to dissolve it. All right. Now I have all that extra paint there. I'm just going to take that page. I'm doing this with a lot of stuff so I don't waste paint, but I'm doing this because I'm going to use this for actual backgrounds. Not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but it's just a way not to waste so much paint. With COVID, yeah, I know I just promised myself I wasn't going to talk about COVID. You know, supplies were getting a little hard to find, so I was taking it for granted that I always have access to paint. The art supply store in Hamilton, I just couldn't go in there. Michael's was no better. So just going to dry that, and that air bubble is now flattened out. All right. So now what I want to do is I'm going to stencil this. So with the contrast, the idea about putting that torn paper on there is really tweaking my interest, but I'm not sure yet. So, oh yeah, that goes really well. So with the road, I wanted to use this little boy here, but he's too tall for the card. I could have made that bigger. I'll do another card with him. So let me stencil that. About like that. Let's get that right about there. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to position it because my stencil is kinked. There we go. All right. Transparent yellow iron oxide. One of my favorite colors. Favorite. And I'm going to get a cosmetic sponge. Oh my goodness. Oh, old bones. Now, for stenciling, and this is me being lazy, I should be using the Traditions, because with this, the fluid acrylics, it gets underneath the stencils. You have to use this so thinly, but I'm impatient. I am so impatient with this. Should start up a YouTube channel called Art for the Impatient Artist. And if you didn't mind spray, you could actually do a temporary spray to adhere your stencil to your card. Nice. Put that in water. And okay, let's just take that. I'm just going to clean the stencil. And I'm going to start cleaning my stencils on actual journal pages and that, because it makes for a great, you know, ghosting of a background. Okay. Just make sure it dries. So I'm going to hold that out there. All right. And let me just quickly dry this. Okay, this out of the way. So now I'm thinking, okay, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. But I want to put some little embellishments here, some little pieces for travel. And so the big stuff, some of these are from the Tim Holtz Field Note Snippets line. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And I just mashed everything in there. Ooh, I like the shells. I like the shells. So I'm going to put that. And now this is where you're kind of looking after an adventure. Okay, so the theme, this is how I'm feeling after an adventure. And these little things here, you can print them off on the computer after an adventure. Use a typewriter font. You can get free fonts on tons of websites. And you can print that stuff out. And you can get a free account at canva.com to make stuff like this. So just, oh, little mushrooms. Those are cute. So I have to find something that's inspiring to me for travel. Butterflies. Anything ocean for me, but I don't think they have anything ocean. Oh, I like the license plate. So, field label. Bookseller. Kind of liking that. I'm thinking I want to use this. I could use this washi tape for something. This way up. I like that. But what I don't like is that it's black. Oh, shoot. Oh, well. Okay, so let's I'm liking to stop here, this way up. I'm liking that. This is make this a little bit more shapely. She's going to be really, I want to use this like that. I don't care about the stop here, but this way up, I wanted that to show. And if if washi tape doesn't stick, use matte medium to hold it down. And you can, again, fold that over or just trim it. Oh, I hope I wasn't off camera there. Oh my goodness. I gotta get Joe to move my camera. Get off of me. And all this stuff here, if you flatten it out, you can use that on other art. That's what I was looking for here, like that. Oh, I should have moved this over a bit more. It says this way up, it looks like it's under her dress. So I like the little butterflies. Kind of like the little butterflies, but I really wanted to do something with an ocean scene. Gas when it's cheap. Oh, I like this one better. Blends into the background. Okay, I'm kind of liking that. Now the other thing I wanted to put in, yeah, so there's nothing really there. The other thing I wanted to put in, and I don't know, you know when you draw a map and you have all these winding roads, some string behind there. And the idea of putting the paper on top and tearing it so it looks like a hole, I'm not going to bother doing that. I want to do something with string. I just have to find some. You guys are going to laugh. I'm going, oh, don't I have a sewing box here or something? I'm probably one of these worst people when it comes to typical, you know, should always have a sewing kit, you know, blah, blah, blah. An iron? Yeah, an iron? Oh, what's that? So I'm thinking a path. A path to who knows where. Okay. What you have. Oh, seriously. There we go. Or black. Oh, the black. The black is better. Okay, so I'm going to just figure out. So I'm thinking a map with lines. So these are going to be like the lines. So just black thread. Okay, so I use that. And matte medium again. Absolute staple here. Matte medium. And I finally found my bottle of the Decor Americana Decoupage medium. Finally found that. So I'm going to go right on top of everything. Whoops. Mr. Butterfly. Over everything. So I'd like to ask you guys, what's something that you're going to do different in, well, depending on when you're watching this, next year? Okay, so right now we're going into 2022, almost 2 years of hell with you know what. I'm going to be doing stuff. It's going to be more experiments that I want to do, but experimenting like right outside my comfort zone. Okay, so let's start this. Because there's some stuff doing artist trading cards are my comfort zone, but I'm going to start doing other stuff. Okay, and I'm going to end that right at exit. Okay. And now I'm pretty sure somebody out there is going to go, you need to be doing it this way. Oh, yeah. Show me, don't tell me. Show me, don't tell me. I'm reading a book called Creative Calling from Chase Jarvis. And oh my God, what an eye-opening book. It's nothing foo-foo or anything, but it just basically goes about that you need to be creative and all that stuff. And, you know, I've only finished chapter 2 and it's just, wow. That, you know, just being creative, and it doesn't always have to be about art. It could be about music, poetry, anything. And then you need to be able to be creative without fear of judgment. And I think a lot of us suffer from that. What if, you know, so-and-so doesn't like this? It doesn't matter. I've done art that Joe can't stand. He tells me about it, and I say, that's nice, thank you. You know, you're entitled to your opinion. Although it's wrong because I did the art for me. Okay, let me just start shaping this a little bit. So this is a typical map. When I explore, when Joe and I travel, well, when we were traveling, this is how typically we explore. All right, and I'm thinking now I could probably glue this stuff down, but I need to finish the edges on this, so I can leave that there. Yeah, so when we explore, it's all over the place. Taking a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'm going to, I'll just use this sponge, this little dauber from Decor, and I'm just going to go with burnt sienna, burnt umber, I should say, around everything. Now, if something that you're cutting out, let's say you picked up something up from Graphics Fairy, and it's really, you have to really fussy cut it, like really nitty gritty, you can cover it with matte medium and then do this, because if you get it on the piece, you can always wipe it back. These little cards, although they are coated, once you get the paint on there, it's hard to wipe them off. You have to be very, very quick. And just to get rid of the white of the paper. But you can also colorize the pieces as well. Yeah, so I'm going to do more experimenting, but you know, a YouTube channel is supposed to be about art that people want to see, and yes, and that's fine and dandy. You guys have been emailing me some great suggestions, but I also want to do art that pushes me out of my comfort zone. So you guys may not like that, and I do apologize. Well, no, I don't apologize actually, because we are all creative in our own way. And what I like to do is basically to document everything I'm doing. That's all that this channel is for. It's just a documentation of my art experiments, and I want to reach, you know, beginners who want to be creative but have that perfectionism mentality, or, you know, the inner critic is just screaming at them, you're not good enough, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. There's always an excuse. And I want to reach those people. Not putting a label on you, but that's who I want to reach. I'm just going to get this started with an initial layer of burnt umber. All right, so now I'm going to take that. So now while that's all setting, I'm going to just get rid of some excess. I know that I could, if I had wax paper, I could push the wax paper down. And that would really push everything out of the way. What I also could have done was just put the matte medium on here and then just push this down. Let's see how that works. Nope. See? Now I know. Don't tell me something's not going to work. You got to show me. So this is what I do. I try. But it did get rid of a lot of the excess. When I was little, my father set up a science station outside for me. And do you know what one experiment that I was doing that just rocked my boat? I wanted to know what would happen. I've heard what would happen. Now, I was 7, and I did this when my parents weren't home. We lived on a farm, and, you know, so security wasn't an issue with all the dogs. But, well, it's not that they weren't home. They were out in the barn. I wanted to know what would happen if you touched a light bulb with your feet in water. Yeah. Yep. You know that song from AC/DC, Shook Me All Night Long? Yeah, that's what happened. All right, so now I'm going to, I want to put another coat on this. And on her, the paint is wet. Now, I've seen some people use distress inks, and I've got that too. You can do that. Just remember, distress inks are not waterproof. So let's put her here, and I'm going to put some matte medium right on top. Whoopsie. And I'll let that sit for a minute, because then I'm going to come around and I'm going to put something on top with a weight to hold her down. This is, oh, I love this. I love this. And the baby butterfly. And I want to cover the exit. Well, not really cover the exit, but like that. Matte medium on top. And I'll just come in after and just kind of trim everything. And let me put the sentiment here first. The adventure one is the hard one, where I'm going to fit that. On top of her teddy bear. It's a bit tight. How about I do that, that, and that. Oh, love it. Now, sometimes when I'm pausing, this is a tip for you guys to do as well. I'm doing this and I'm so focused on that. I will always look, right in front of me, there's a big monitor, which is what the camera sees, the video camera. And I see my pieces and it just gives me another perspective. Because right now I'm looking at it on an angle, but the camera is right there. And I see it at another angle. So one thing that you can do when you're not sure even about color is to take a picture of your piece in black and white. That you'll be able to see what the values are, which is the lightness and darkness. Look at your piece upside down. Okay, so this particular piece here is an L-shaped composition, like this and like this. And this stuff here is so subtle, you know, it doesn't really play a part of the formal composition of the piece. I could have, I'm thinking this black thread, probably could have come back and add a bit of gesso onto that, but I really wanted them to stand out. It's for the road traveled. So this is more of an inner piece with an inner message. Love that. All right. Plastic. I don't have any flipping plastic. I forgot to do the stamping. It's not necessary. See? Don't need to use these. Not necessary. And this little 45-cent thing for gas. Nope, that's not necessary either. All right, so I'm going to put that there. I'm going to close this off. And the last thing to do is to now go over the edge with the transparent red iron oxide. But I want to do a quick cleanup here. Give this a minute to dry, or to be dried enough to handle. And then I'll go over the complete supplies and give you some options. Do you know what I did? I realized the words I put out there were in the wrong order. So peeled them off and they got broken. So I came up with another thing. It's to explore, create, and grow. Explore some new ideas, create immediately what comes to mind, and grow from that learning experience. There we go. Let's see if I can do this correctly this time. All right, so I'm going to put all that there again. Explore, create, grow. Explore, create, grow. Explore, create. Yeah, that's right. I used to be able to talk and create at the same time. Not anymore. All right, it's going to put another layer of the matte medium over everything. And then the last thing to do is to finish the edges. And I say that the last thing to do is to finish the edges, but usually what happens is during the drying time, I think, oh, I should do this. Okay, I'm just going to go around the edges here just to get rid of the excess. This will not take long to dry at all. Now this matte medium, this Decor matte medium, if it gets on your fingers, it's not toxic, but clean up your fingers. Clean up your fingers, soap and water, because this glue is strong. This medium is super strong. All right. No. All right, so I'm going to let this dry for a couple minutes, and then we'll finish the edges. All right, transparent red iron oxide. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And we're going to repeat the same exercise as before. I can use the same sponge. And I'm just going to pounce now, pounce, pounce, pounce. Oh, I think I'm going to need a bit more. And I did burnt umber before because the burnt umber would seal most of the white, because transparent red iron oxide is, well, that's transparent. Okay, so the burnt umber really covers the white. Now, pounce off paper towel, and I can come in now. Come in, out, in, out, in, out, in. And what that does is it really darkens this outside edge and puts a little bit of the paint to create a vignette. I don't know if I have much more left. And I can go in, I can just lightly go over the paper doll. I wanted to change the color a little bit. Not too much. See, now she's got an aged look about her. Okay, now this part here I was really contemplating. Now these are the Decor metallic lusters. That's wax metallics. They dry out super easy, and all you do is basically put more water in there and it reconstitutes. Well, see, it hasn't hardened enough yet, but if your piece is like this, all I'm going to do is just take a little bit, just take a speck, close that up. And this is water soluble, so once you put it on, burnish it really, really hard, and then that's it. It won't come off on your hands, but you can't add water to it. And then what I'm going to do is just take that, and I'm going to go inside outwards. And just creates a little bit of a shimmer. Just a little bit of shimmer. You don't have to do this. I just like that little bit of a glitz to it, because it's also transparent. See, that was even too much. I'm going to pop that in water. Now I'm going to take a clean, unused kitchen wipe and push. Burnish it. You know what happens when you burnish wax, right? That's still a little bit tacky. Now, one nice thing with this stuff is that you can clean it up if you don't like what you've got. You just dampen your paper towel or cloth and just go over it, and it will come off. There we go. Now, a way to make this permanent, like permanent, if you, let's say, weren't sure what was going to happen, is that you can go over it now with another layer of matte medium, but just go over once where the matte metallic is and not over and over and over again, because you're just going to reconstitute it, and it'll just start moving around. All right, so that's that. Yeah, this is good. Now let me just, so now that I've used whatever supplies I had and didn't use certain things, I'm going to go over the supplies now. And that, and that. All right. So to make this little beauty, Decor Chalky Gesso to prime the card first. Decor Media Matte Medium to glue the matte paper on there. The paint, Decor Media Fluid Acrylics, Burnt Umber, Transparent Yellow Iron Oxide, Hansa Yellow Light, Phthalo Green Blue, Burnt Sienna, Transparent Red Iron Oxide, and Decor Metallic Luster, Iced Espresso. Talk much? No. All right, so that. Some thread, some travel-inspired washi tape, and paper doll, and some little ephemera pieces. Of all the things here, for the alternatives now, for the paper dolls, I don't know of anybody who makes these already. That doesn't belong there. I don't know of anybody who makes these like this. They're not terribly expensive. In Canada, everything's more expensive. So if you're in the US or anywhere where US dollar is the primary currency, you know, it'd be easier for you. But you could go to graphicsfairy.com. She's got so much stuff on there that is absolutely amazing. Free stuff, and she has a membership which has even more stuff that's better. And you can get printables, just print them out and then cut them. Me, I don't like cutting, but you can just cut them out. Now these are cardstock. You can buy cardstock at the dollar store and just print them out on that. And for these little pieces here too, again, graphicsfairy.com, because it's a digital print. So when you print it out, you can choose to print it at different sizes. So you can get small little pieces like this. All right. Then the washi tape, just use something printable. You don't have to have washi tape. I just got this. I'm pretty sure I picked this up at Lens Mill because there was no way I would buy this on Amazon, like determined, because it's not the nicest thing, but you know, it is what it is. And then for the watercolor paper, use cardboard packaging from your pantry. Thread, use it, don't use it, doesn't matter. And the wax metallic, use metallic paint. Use a crayon, use something, you know, just to scribble. Oh, that's another thing. I'm going to go just to show you this. Now, you don't have to do this, but I really need to start writing these down, but I keep forgetting is, what's her name is Jane, oh, if you're watching this, let me know if June or Jane, about, she saw a video where the creator used a water-soluble pencil around the piece, but because it's water-soluble, it's not permanent. And wondering how I would get around that. This is a great question. Tiny round brush, water, or you can use matte medium. And I use the Decor Immediate Carbon Black. And you can come in and the round brush has to be really, really pointy. And you get it started like that, then wipe the brush and then just dissolve it to move it around. And this way, it's permanent. And because there's matte medium on the cardstock, like see here, I put too much in there, wipe the brush, then go back over and the brush will just pick up all that paint. And every once in a while, rinse your brush, come back in and just go back over. See, it's just picking everything up. You'll have a little bit of drying time in there. And because you've got a lot of water in here, it's going to be transparent. But you see what I'm doing here, right? Now, I wasn't thinking of this when I was making the card, because if I would have known I was going to do this, I would have made sure that everything was flattened out, because there's pieces here where the matte medium is pressed it and it kind of squirts out to the edges. And to me, that didn't bother me, but when you're doing this technique, it does interfere with it a little bit. And see, when it dries almost transparent. So just come back with another layer. And it's better to do it many layers than one heavy layer. You're just getting it right on the edge. And then let's say you put too much. Rinse your brush, blot it dry on the paper towel, and then just come back in and just kind of push the paint back into the edge. And what this does is that it brings the piece forward. It stands out from the background. And you can do this for as much as you want. Oh, that's way too much paint. So that one has less water. See how that's really strong? Go in with a clean brush, blot it, and I'm just going to come back in and blot it again. So that's a way how you can, add that shadowing around your piece in a more permanent way. The other way that you can do it is, again, you would, if you'd be okay with spray, is you use a water-soluble pencil or watercolor crayon or something like that, and then just spray with fixative. Now, Decor has a thing where you can make fixative out of their matte medium. I've never tried it. Well, sorry, I'm lying. I did try it. The sprayer always gums up. So that's one thing I have no patience for. Here we go. And if I want to dissolve the edges, come back in with some water and just feather that out. So once you do this a few times, it will be second nature to you to do this. See how she just pops out of the card. And like I said before, because there's matte medium on here, where do I have? I don't have it handy. You can come in and pick up some of that black paint. Because the matte medium in there is a barrier. Like once the paint has really dried, you're not going to be able to pull much out of it. So that's why, you know, if one supply you can have, well, two supplies, gesso and matte medium. See? It really just, and I think here, yeah, there's still a little bit too much in there. If you're comfortable doing this, a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a piece and just push it in there. Rubbing alcohol removes everything. There you go. Just be careful. If you do this on a frequent basis, make sure you wear a mask. And on a finished piece, finished, avoid using too much rubbing alcohol because you're also going to disturb everything else under there. So if you do use rubbing alcohol, don't use a heat gun to dry it. Let it dry naturally and then come back in with just matte medium for one final layer. All right, so I had to add in a little tutorial at the end. But I do want to thank you for all the questions you guys send me. And I like it that you're sending it to me through my website and to contact me, because that way all the questions are condensed into one area. It's hard to keep track of the questions on YouTube and on Facebook, and then, you know, and then trying to answer them in both places. So keep your questions coming. All right. So now that we did this, I definitely want to do something with this guy. So it'll be almost like a family traveling. This guy, this one here. Oh, and this little girl here, this little chickie poo. Oh, love her. Look at her face. Look at her face. What would you call a piece with her in it? Something with attitude, drive, determination. Like, look at her face. Oh, love it. Love it. So, yeah, I can see 3 different pieces here. But these paper dolls, I am just so obsessed with them. Absolutely obsessed with them. She's a little taller, but there you can do something like that. And there's one, oh, and then you could even do like that. Whoops, too much glare. Something like that. There we go. That's kind of nice. But yeah, obsessed with these paper dolls. Absolutely obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with them because I don't have to cut them out. All right. That's it. I am done. So thank you so much for being with me. Depending on when you're watching this, have a happy new year. Let me know what your plans are for the next year, 2022. Let me know what's one thing you're going to try different when it comes to your creativity. Something specific that you want to try. And let's explore that, create something, and grow from our experience. Is that ever cheesy? Until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.